Yeah, so our chief guest, Honorable Eric Simiyu, our Chief Administrative Secretary, Treasury and Planning, the Permanent Secretary Planning, Mr. Saitoti Torome, the Vice Chancellor, University of Nairobi Representative, Professor Margaret Jesang Hudson, the Director General of KNBS, McNora George Obudo, our partners, AFD and the European Commission, Dr. Anda David and Mr. Robert Buckland, the Director of ALUA, ASIA, Professor Mari Liblat, and all invited guests. I salute all. Good morning. Yeah, so we are here this morning to virtually launch a report on Inequality Trends and Diagnostic in Kenya 2020. Yeah, so this report is as a result of collaborative work between Kenya National Bureau of Statistics and the University of Nairobi, with support from AFD and the European Union Commission. So the report, as it is, benefited a lot from ALUA ASIA Hub and from the project steering committee members, who actually ensured that the report remained focused to its course during several of its stages of dissemination. So our today's launch will start with an opening remark from our guests. We'll have Director General KNBS, Vice Chancellor University of Nairobi. We'll also have representative from AFD, European Commission. We'll also have Director of ALUA, ASIA African, that is African Center of Excellence in Inequality Research. And before we move to the actual launch, we'll have a gist of the report, meaning kind of a summary of what the report entails or contains. Yeah, so then after that, I will have our launching of the report by a chief guest, and thereafter a vote of thanks. Yeah, so because of time, I think what I want to do is to start with our Director General, Mr. McDonald George Obudo, to give us a welcome remark, and I mean to give his remark, welcome remark, and his remarks on this work. Yeah, so Mr. McDonald George, please, I request you have the floor for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moses, for the chance. The chief guest, Honorable Eric Simiyu, who is the Chief Administrative Secretary, the National Treasury and Planning, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Planning, Mr. Saitoti Torome, the representative of the University of Nairobi, the DVC, Professor Margaret Hutchinson, the KNBS board members who are present, the representative of the French Development Agency, represented by David Anda, then the representative of the European Union in Kenya, represented by Robert Buckland, Professor Mari Liblat, who is representing the University of Cape Town, and the representative of the South African Research Node of Africa Center for Inequality Research, representatives from the development partners, senior government officials who have logged in, distinguished guests, all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to welcome you to this launch today for the Inequality Trends and Diagnostics in Kenya, which is the report for 2020. As you may be aware, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics undertakes surveys and censuses on various aspects of socioeconomic development in the country. Out of the data collected, KNBS routinely produces the Bureau normally would produce reports that are released from time to time. However, on the in-depth analysis, we normally collaborate with relevant research institutions and partners to leverage on the existing expertise outside the Bureau so that we can come up with a more detailed report. It is in this regard that the Bureau has jointly, KNBS jointly works with the East African Research Node of Africa Center for Inequality Research, the AFB, and European Union to produce the 2020 Inequality Trends and Diagnosis in Kenya report that we are launching today. The report presents a comprehensive analysis of multidimensional inequality in Kenya, and we'll be able to see the details of the report in due course. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in analyzing inequality trends in Kenya contained in this report, several data sets were used spanning from a period of over 20 years. The data sets included the 1994 Welfare Monitoring Survey 2. Then we have the 2005-2006 and also 2015-2016 Kenya Integrated Household Budget Survey. Then we also have the 1998-99 Labor Force Survey report. And then we capped it all with the 2009 Kenya Population and Housing Census. Now, evidently, this report is different from the previous poverty and inequality analysis in Kenya reports that we've been doing, which really provide a snapshot of analysis based on the single survey data set. But here you can see we're actually using quite a lot of data sets to come up with this report. It further demonstrates the coherency of data across surveys and time and soundness of survey methodologies deployed by the Bureau. You know, when you undertake surveys at different times, it is one other thing for them to be coherent, because you want to see are you able, what kind of variables have you collected, what indicators do you derive from them, how is the methodology, are you able to use what had been there before and correlate it with the others so that you are able to get meaningful in-depth analysis. And this report that we are launching today really demonstrates that element of coherency that we have also been standing for when it comes to statistics. So we are really happy that we have come this far on that. So it increases the demand for statistics to monitor the progress in meeting the target set in the goal number 10, which basically talks about the reduction of inequalities within and among countries and this is part of the SDG 2030. The report presents and interprets results from inequality analysis and measurements based on the per capita household expenditure assets, labor market earnings, and access to labor market. Then we have the element of education and health to other basic services. Now, this report therefore makes available credible evidence on addressing multi-dimensional inequality in Kenya. Being custodian of official statistics, the Bureau is delighted to be associated with this kind of analysis that has been done. Now, to improve the analysis and reporting on inequality indicators, there is need to integrate survey data with administrative ones such as the employer or firm and income tax information. This is an exercise that we as a Bureau of Statistics, we are exploring so that we can make better the information that has been made available. So, ladies and gentlemen, in the past, KNBS conducted household expenditure surveys at intervals of 10 years to improve on this monitoring and reporting of inequality. there is need to collect this data in a more regular basis and in a short span of time, rather than waiting until after 10 years. I know funds are also another bit that we have to consider as limited, but we need to do the best out of the situation that we have. Therefore, KNBS is in collaboration with the World Bank and other partners is implementing the Kenya's Continuous Household Survey Program that is aimed at producing labor indicators on a quarterly basis and annual poverty estimates from it. So under the program, the 2019 and 2020 Kenya Continuous Household Survey have been undertaken, and currently we are working on the 2021 CHSP, which is ongoing. However, with the budgetary constraints, the sustainability of the statistical programs and activities is really under threat. We therefore make an appeal for increased funding and high quality data that is necessary for evidence-based decision making. So in conclusion, my colleagues, let me then take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to the government of Kenya for providing resources and also enabling environment together with the policy direction necessary for the execution of KNBS mandate. I also recognize the role played by the East African Research Node of African Center for Inequality Research, the French Development Agency, the European Union, the University of Nairobi, and all the collaborators that we have had. With these remarks, colleagues, I welcome you all to this launch of the 2020 Inequality Trends and Diagnostics in Kenya report. Otherwise, welcome all, and I thank you for giving me a chance to share with you a few remarks. Thank you. So back to you, Moses. Doctor, you are muted. I think you are muted. Doctor, you are on mute.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
I think I was muted. Thank you so much. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so again, I want to thank you, Mr. Makinona, for that very enlightening in terms of the collaboration that the University of Nairobi and the KNBS has been, and also the mention of our key partners who have been very useful into this. Yeah, so thanks so much for that welcome remarks. Yeah, so I think for now, our next key speaker is the Vice Chancellor of University of Nairobi, who is represented by Professor Margaret Jesang. Yeah, so Professor, we welcome you for in this launch, and please give we request for your remark. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moses. I'll be giving the apologies of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, Professor Stephen Kiama, who was not able to join us this morning, and therefore it's with humility that I present his speech that he would have wanted to give in person. Our chief guest, Honorable Eric Simiyu Wafuko, the Chief Administrative Secretary for the National Treasury and Planning, Mr. Saitoti Torome, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Planning, Mr. McDonald George Obutho, the Director General of the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, senior government officials, representatives from AFD, and also the EU delegation in Kenya, representatives of the Arua African Center for Excellence in Equality Research, members of the Inequality Diagnostic Project Steering Committee, representatives from other institutions and organizations, members of the Fourth Estate, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Equality indeed is a goal, is a desire, is an aspiration of the human life. And as we receive this report today on inequality data, I want to note that in 2003, the presidents and the heads of government in Africa met and had the Maputo Declaration, where they said that they are going to take the development agenda for Africa into their own hands. The University of Nairobi, therefore, stands committed to creating partnerships and linkages that are geared towards research efforts by utilizing multidisciplinary approach in analyzing data that provides African solutions to African problems. Data analysis, especially that on development issues, is instrumental in improving the quality of reporting on the Sustainable Development Goals, harmonizing inequality measures across countries, as well as addressing data challenges and gaps that are very predominant in Africa. As alluded by the Director General of the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, the report on inequality trends and diagnostics in Kenya is a collaborative effort between the Kenyan National Bureau of Standards and the University of Nairobi. And this is a clear illustration of how institutions and government departments can join hands to provide evidence on salient issues. Indeed, this is the main thrust of the University of Nairobi research policy, which strives for conformity of research with international best practices in order to facilitate implementation and dissemination, and also foster research linkages with institutions both locally and internationally. The report indeed is a testimony that homegrown solutions, homegrown evidence can be derived through a joint venture that recognizes the strengths that come with different local institutions of higher learning and government departments. The Kenyan National Bureau of Standards, Kenya's custodians of official data, and the University of Nairobi have a memorandum of understanding to collaborate on access and use of household survey microdata to conduct in-depth investigations of interest, as well as to sharpen methodological skills of data analysis for the teams of researchers as partners. It is as a result of this MOU that the collaboration has given birth to this evidence-based report. And I hasten to add that development in Africa and in Kenya in particular must be driven by evidence. Therefore, I'm pleased to note that out of this collaboration, there is another report on fiscal incidence, inequality, and poverty reduction in Kenya. That is to follow up on this Inequality Diagnostics report, and it provides recommendations on some of the inequality issues observed in the report to be launched today. The follow-up report will be released in a workshop in the coming days. It is important to mention that the success of this investigation could not have been possible without support provided by our partners. And I therefore want to thank most sincerely the following partners that have also been appreciated by the Director General from Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, the French government agents, the French Development Agency, AFD, and the EU, the European Union, for providing technical and financial support. Number two, the Project Steering Committee for ensuring that the report provided the necessary policy evidence and that its focus was always on course, and today we are seeing the delivery of the same. Third but not least is the African Research University Alliance, ARUA, African Center for Excellence for Inequality Research Hub at the University of Cape Town for providing in-depth technical support, including relevant training to the research team, and also the University of Nairobi node at the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics. We look forward to working with all of you again in developing research that contributes positively to the formulation of policies and monitoring their implementation so that our development as a country is always driven by evidence-based research. The University of Nairobi looks forward to partaking in the ventures of this nature that utilize research and other innovative solutions to uplift the livelihoods of our communities. I want to thank you all for your attention, and may God bless Kenya. May God bless all of you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Professor Margaret, for that very insightful remarks again. Notable is that there is another report coming, a report that has also been developed out of the trends of inequality that have been observed during the investigation. Yeah, so for now, given that we mentioned that this work has been also accompanied by our partners, yeah, so we want now to request our partner to have to give us a remark on this. So we call upon David under David and Robert to give the remark on this work. Thank you. Ada.
Thank you so much. I would also like to thank our distinguished speakers and the audience. To say that inequality is one of the biggest challenges of our times, together with climate change, is no longer a surprise. At the French Development Agency, we have included the reduction of inequality in our strategical orientation, and it's now one of the pillars of one of our two flagship commitments, the 100% social link. So we are striving to not only to render our operations more inclusive, but also to support our partners in mainstreaming the reduction of inequality. Now, we keep hearing and reading that inequality within countries has increased, but not everywhere, that inequality between countries has decreased, but not according to every metric. And we realize that we lack a comprehensive picture of inequality trends. We have heard about the SDG 10, the 2030 agenda, but when we look at the data, we see that there is a big gap in terms of data on inequality, especially in Africa. And it's not just about income inequality, it's also about consumption, assets, labor markets, education, health, and even infrastructure. And these are the outcomes that matter to people. In order to try to improve the knowledge on inequalities, together with the European Union and other member states, we had launched in 2017 the EU IFD Research Facility on Inequalities, which was a program spanning over more than 3 years in more than 20 countries, aiming not only to improve the knowledge on inequality, but also to provide the tools for our partners that would help them to more effectively tackle the challenge that is inequality reduction. Among these tools, we have developed together with our partners in the African Center of Excellence for Inequalities Research, the Inequality Diagnostics, so this series of reports that will be presented later on, and for which we are today in the case of Kenya. And we hope that these reports will support governments, development partners, NGOs, and the civil society as a whole, not only to better understand where we are in terms of inequalities, but also what should be the priorities and what we could try to do together in order to reduce these inequalities. I would like to sincerely thank all of our partners, especially the KNBS, the University of Nairobi, our colleagues at the African Center for Inequality Research and the node in Cape Town, but also the European Union for all the support, to sincerely thank the National Treasury also for having gone with us through this adventure around the project in Kenya, and I look forward to the discussion that we'll be having today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ada, for that insight on inequality, and also the fact that inequality is all over. And we need to think on ways of addressing this inequality because essentially they do affect our economic growth. Yeah, so I don't know whether Buckland, you have some. Yeah, so your time now to give your remark on this. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for letting us be here from the European Union and our European delegation to Nairobi, which is where I work at the Office of the Head of Cooperation as a Team Europe counselor. All protocols observed. We appreciate much being here together with the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics and the University of Nairobi, and with all you participants. We have had the benefit of following this and supporting this research facility on equalities for some years now. So it's really a great moment today when we are to be presented with the Inequality Trends and Diagnostics report of 2020. It is a great moment and we are very glad to be here. First, let me say that we have a commissioner at our European Commission. It's Commissioner Jutta Urpilainen. She works with international partnerships and is one of the key driver persons for the EU's partnership with Africa. One of her key things that she's always promoting is precisely the work against the rising inequalities. So that is really one of our top priorities. In the EU, we have a programming cycle, meaning that we are just in these weeks about finalizing our programming with Kenya for the next 7 years, from 2021 up till 2027. And part of this work has been an extensive research and analysis work, where we have gone into the depths of all the trends and policies that is applied in Kenya. We believe this report that we are looking at today is one important piece that helps us understand precisely Kenya's policies and the trends and how these interrelate with the inequality discussion. Further, we have seen that the rising inequalities are among the fundamental risks relevant to Kenya's development agenda. And we can compare these risks with the risks of climate shocks and other natural disasters. So it's really tangible. And we work together with Kenyan government and our Kenyan partners to understand this and to address this with Kenya in the driver's seat. When it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic, it comes as no surprise to no one that poverty and inequality and unemployment has been exacerbated, notably among the most vulnerable groups of the population. This is not only in Kenya, but for most of Africa and actually most of the world. So we sit in the same boat in this our endeavor to understand how do we combat these trends. So these studies of the impact of public policy and also the tax policies that are mentioned in the report is one of the keys to understand how we adapt our programming as a European Union. And I would like to to take the opportunity to highlight one specific area where Kenya is among the most advanced partners we have actually on the African continent, and that is the area of digitalization. Because we know that there is a connection between digitalization and reduction of inequalities. The European Union, together with our member states, we work on a flagship project that we call the human-centered digitalization. The idea is that we see that the digital connectivity link to social and governmental bodies, making schools, education centers, health facilities, county governments, and all these important bodies, improving their public service delivery in a way that actually has potential to reduce the urban-rural digital divide. Further, we see that the digitalization combats the inequalities with all the new concepts for e-education that we have seen emerging in the last year, which is also one of the, if I may say so, the good things that we hope to see be a result of this terrible pandemic. Further, if we look at the governance side, we see that the improved service delivery is also a thing that comes out from the improved e-services to citizens and businesses. It gives new ways for civil society to work, and for the promotion and protection of democracy and these sides of society and governance. And I mention this because these are some of the key areas we see that we want to support our Kenyan partners in, to engage in understanding and combating the inequalities. So with these words, I want to thank you so much for all the work that has been done with the report, and for letting us be here at this opportunity with the introduction of the report. And I wish that we all will have a successful seminar and also a good follow-up of the report and the good thinking that is the result of this project. So, million thanks to all of you from the European Union.
Thank you so much, Robert. That's for that good insight on what work you are doing here. Also, insight on how this work will also contribute into what you are doing. I think that is a great insight. Yeah. So now we move on to another partner that we have been working together through this journey, and this is Dr. Professor Mary Liebland, Director Overseer, based at UCT. Yeah, so Professor, I give you the platform, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Moses. And what a celebration today. It is a launch workshop, but it is a celebration and a stock take of what we're about. I'd like to, so all protocols observed. I can't tell you how much ASA and Arua appreciates the high level participation today in this launch. It's perfectly reflects what we're trying to do here humbly in our work, and the opening statements from all have laid the groundwork perfectly for our discussions today. I'd like to try and put up a PowerPoint presentation where I just explain, sorry. I'm battling to load my PowerPoint actually. Okay, Moses, just put up with me for a second.
Okay, okay, it's fine, Prof.
Is it showing? Oh.
Not yet.
Is it showing now?
Still not yet.
Still not yet. Okay. Okay, here we go.
Yes, still not.
Now?
Not yet, Prof. It's coming.
Is it there?
No, no, it's coming now. Maybe we wait a bit. Yeah, it's on now. There you are.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to turn off the video just in case. So let me then splice into today's proceedings some background on ARUA and on the African Center of Excellence for inequality research. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
So in 2016 and 2017, the African Research Universities Alliance was put in place to marshal African research excellence from across the continent in order to exactly as the Vice Chancellor's spokesperson said, to input, make sure that African researchers and African policymakers were driving the key African policy discussions. This is not the history. The history is us African policy milieu expecting to be responsive to what other people were telling us was good policy making, but not allowing us to ground it in our own realities. And ARUA's founding statement is to set up centers of excellence, leveraging the best that the continent has to offer in order to do that. And a call for proposals was put out that for people to apply for centers of excellence, one of the themes was poverty and inequality. A group of us from Ghana, from Kenya, and from South Africa had been very active academic participants in the international discussion already. This was our moment. We were looking for a structured opportunity to come together across our strengths. We're good at what we do, and we provide good evidence into our respective policy milieu, but we're also very committed to this cause of making sure that the poverty and inequality issues for Africa are supported by African research, and the policy making is evidence-based. And so we were successful in our application to be one of ARUA's centers of excellence, and we were launched in May 2018 as the first ARUA Center of Excellence. And let me just reiterate, each of the nodes are very good clusters of researchers, African strengths. And each of the nodes have a history, as is evidenced today by the Kenyan nodes, of working alongside government and with the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, in the South African case, Statistics South Africa, and in Ghana, the Ghanaian Statistical Service, to do research to further the cause of better policy making. So ASA launched with a founding grant from AFD and with a program in which these diagnostics that we're celebrating today were a key prong, because what we try and do in these diagnostics is to formalize the relationships with our statistical officers and consolidate the evidence and reflect on the quality of the data. It's a type of a benchmark for further work, but a serious benchmark that gives the country a real baseline document for its inequality. So this was part of our launch strategy, producing these diagnostics in each of these countries. And we had a launch of the South African diagnostic with Statistics South Africa in 2019, a launch of the Ghanaian diagnostic in 2020, and then although the Kenyan team was well on with its work, the COVID interfered, and so today we are celebrating the launch of the Kenyan diagnostic, and these are key tools in our strategy. What is a diagnostic? We've already had really excellent inputs on this on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the university. But it's a comprehensive report on inequality in all of its dimensions. It gathers the data, consolidates it, and takes stock as a foundation to launch a national dialogue about inequality and policies to overcome inequality. And I have to say, and it's a pleasure to say, that the working relationship between the Kenyan team and the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics is perhaps the exemplar for all of us across ASA. It's a true partnership, very well described by the Director General earlier on. You know, through these diagnostics, we've already worked quite intensively with the people who are doing the reporting on SDG 10, which is inequality, but also SDG 1, which is poverty, into the process to strengthen the measurement, but also to provide a platform for integrating measurement with the discussion. So these diagnostics are very important prongs to build on. Of course, we're a research center with very strong researchers, and around the diagnostic, we've assembled data, but now we can build capacity of South Africans, of Kenyans, of everybody in East Africa, of everybody in West Africa through the Ghanaian team, in Southern Africa, to actually strengthen the research evidence nexus, hopefully making data available, making quality data available, and training people to use it properly, because you don't want badly produced evidence. And so that's what we're celebrating today. And it's just the start, as a few people have said. Already, we're building on this already with our tax and expenditure policy simulation work in all of the nodes, some spatial mapping and spatial inequalities work, even in some of the nodes work on the tax data under very strict conditions. But the vision is there. All of the speakers so far have spoken exactly the same language, that it's the time to roll up our sleeves and do more than recognize the need for African researchers and Africa to be center stage of their own national evidence-informed policymaking. And we've moved on, and we're celebrating that today with the diagnostic and the further work of ASA. And I want to congratulate the Kenyan team for today, for what it's taken to get here, and including the members from the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics. It really is a great achievement, and I want to then thank all the participants today. As you've heard from the speeches, this is the start of our journey together. From the top end, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, the policy engagement in today's event is inspiring. It's truly inspiring. It's what we strive to do. And the very close working relationship with the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics is inspiring too. So thank you so much.
So thanks so much, Mari, for that very elaborate discussion on the move, on how we have been working together and what this has resulted to. Yeah, so thanks so much. Yeah, so for now, we want to welcome Professor Amanda, School of Economics, to give us a gist of the report, more or less like a summary of what is contained in this report. So, Professor Amanda, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Moses. Let me share PowerPoint and proceed.
Yes, that should do this. Yes.
I don't know whether you can see it.
Yes, excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, it's visible. It's okay. Yeah.
So, Inequality Trends and Diagnostics in Kenya, 2020. As you can see, it's a joint report on multidimensional inequality in Kenya. So the research team is indicated down there. I won't read the names, but you can look at the names. So what I'm going to do is to present the report on the behalf of this team. As you can see, the team consists of researchers from the University of Nairobi, Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics. We also had very good support from Under David. So what I'm going to present is actually much more of a summary. The details are in the report. So looking at the context and the coverage, this report analyzes monetary and non-monetary dimensions of inequality. And we do this using nationally representative survey data and population census. The population census that we used was 2009. So the report covers, the study covers a period of from 1994 to 2016. The data sets used here were mentioned earlier, so I would want to skip that. But to mention is that the report provides inequality trends over a period of 20 years. That is, if you look at 1994 to 2016, it's a period of about 20 years. And it uses several cross-section data sets rather than just providing a snapshot using one cross-section data set. So it gives us a good picture of how inequality has been moving over this period. Also, the report estimates a range of inequality measures and at the national, regional level, and for some for subgroups. The subgroups we look at here, we look at inequality by gender, education, and poverty status. So also the report looks at inequality in, the the measures that we use in the analysis include inequality in per capita expenditure. So we are using this per capita expenditure as a measure of welfare. And then inequality in assets, and this is based on asset index that is based on household asset possessions. Then we look at inequality in the labor market, inequality in the social domain, and in the social domain we are looking at issues to do with access, access to education, health, basic services such as water, sanitation, electricity, mobile phone ownership. All those are covered within the report. Then finally, we consolidate in a section issues to do with inequality on gender. So in a way, this report contributes to what has been done in various ways. One is that it provides the first comprehensive analysis on multidimensional measures and diagnostics of inequality. And this is over a period of 20 years, and also over space in Kenya, that is across regions and by gender. It also uses several household datasets to analyze inequality trends and to compute a wide range of inequality measures. So the reason why we use these inequality measures, as you know, previous studies have been focusing mainly on Gini. So we decided to use a wide range so that we can see whether all these measures speak the same language. And in this report, this is what we find, that actually using any of those measures will give us the picture. And from a policy perspective, the report substantially improves the reporting and monitoring on the United Nations SDG 10 on inequality reduction. As we know, Kenya and other United Nations member states adopted these SDGs. Also, the report will inform policymakers on possible areas of intervention to reduce inequality, so as to enhance social cohesion and boost economic growth. I'll jump straight into the results that we find in the report. So we look at real mean and median annual expenditure. And here, the base here is 2010. So based on this, we find that urban dwellers have higher real mean annual expenditure than rural residents over the entire period. And also we see that Nairobi County, which is also the largest city in Kenya, had the highest mean and median expenditure. And this is at least 5 times higher than many other counties that we looked at. We also note that there was a kind of redistribution of expenditure share from the top 10 richest to the lowest percentiles, or to the lowest or to the poorest section of the community in Kenya. And this resulted in a decline in inequality over the period. So looking at the Kenya Integrated Household Budget Survey 2015-2016, we noted that there was some kind of redistribution from the top 10 richest to the lower 10 between 2005 and 2015. And this resulted in an improvement in inequality. So this is just looking at the descriptive statistics. Now we moved into the analysis itself using the methodologies that were used, the Gini coefficient and all that. So from that, we started by looking at inequality in per capita consumption expenditure. And here, we note that inequality in consumption expenditure declined in 2015-2016 relative to 2005-2006. But we note that it is still high because in 2015-2016, it is at 40.4%. So at 40.4%, it is still high, although it declined if you compare with the previous, which was around 47%. So it has declined in 2015. Then we note that there is a larger decline in inequality that was recorded for male-headed households as compared to the female-headed households. And also this larger decline is recorded in the urban areas compared to the rural areas. At county level, inequality declined in most of the counties. I think in about 37 of the counties, but it rose in the other remaining counties. Nairobi had the highest decline in terms of looking at the Gini coefficient, and Turkana had the highest increase for those counties that experienced an increase in inequality. And we also note that there is a large variation in inequality across the counties. Just looking at the Gini coefficient, it ranges from 27.2%. I think this should be either in Nairobi or somewhere in Central, to 55.9. This 55.9 actually is in Turkana, and this is for 2015-2016. So in the report, you will see we represented this on a map. There are two maps there in the report. When you get hold of them, you will see that inequality in the counties is represented on the maps. And you would see that actually Turkana was experienced an increase in inequality by looking at those maps. Also, we have higher inequality in urban areas and among the non-poor. And for, I think for male-headed households, no, for households with, for household headed with individuals who have higher education. So those report higher inequality. We try to decompose this inequality to see what are the sources of this inequality. And we see that the sources is not really across groups, but within groups. For example, if we take urban and rural areas, we find that across the two regions, inequality across the two regions contributes less. But within the urban and within the rural areas, the inequality that we get there contributes more to the existing inequality. So in terms of, we find that within group inequality contributes more to the overall inequality than the between group. That is between group. For example, if you are looking at across various education levels, then across various education levels would contribute less, but within each education group, you will find that it contributes more to inequality. Then individuals in male-headed households contribute more to the within group inequality. Also, rural areas contribute more to the within group inequality. When you look at the report, you'll find that the within group inequality contributes around at least 70% of to the overall inequality. And so within group, we find that male-headed households and households in the rural areas contribute more to the within inequality, which means that if you are trying to bring inequality down, then we may focus probably in getting inequality, reducing inequality in the rural areas. That is something that we may get from this decomposition. Then we look at, the report also looks at asset and land inequality, land ownership inequality. I must say land ownership inequality here, we didn't do it for 2015, 2016, but we looked at the 2005, 2006, using that household survey. So we see that the number of assets owned by households increased from an average of 6 in 2005, 2006 to an average of 7 in 2015, 2006, 2016. So this is not a great improvement. We can see there is minor changes over a period of 10 years. But still we found that at least 2% of the households lack very basic assets. So this is a group also to look at. Then in terms of inequality, we see that inequality in asset ownership has an index of about 54%. And we can see that this is higher than the inequality in consumption expenditure, which was at 40%. Also, inequality in land ownership, which is at about 70%. In 2005, it had increased from about 61% in 2007. So all this, this is Gini coefficient for this inequality. So what we can see from here is that these inequalities are much higher than what we saw in the real per capita consumption. And this would be an indication that probably asset ownership here could be contributing more to inequality, and therefore it could be one area, if we wanted to reduce inequality, that is one area that we may want to look at, improve reducing inequality in asset ownership here. And also asset ownership inequality improved marginally over time. And we see that land ownership inequality worsened if you look at these measurements. We don't have the recent estimates, but we assume this trend will persist. In the labor market, we see that women have low earnings across earnings distribution relative to men, and real earnings inequality worsened over the period 1998 to 2005, but slightly improved to some extent in 2015. Again, in terms of looking at the Gini coefficient, we see that inequality in the labor market is higher than that of per capita consumption. Again, reducing inequality in the labor market would go a long way in improving the overall inequality. In the social domain, we look at inequality in terms of access. And here, in summary, we can note that access to basic education increased. And even along the gender divide, we can see that basic education, we do not have much difference, but there is a large gender. There is a large gender gap in tertiary education. So, in terms of looking at inequality in access, we find that women have less access to tertiary education than men. We also note that there is a large population share, which is about 70%, that seeks healthcare in public facilities. But we also note that the poor still lack some of the basic services. Also, a number of households have access to safe drinking water, waste disposal facilities, and improved sanitation. But there is marked inequalities across groups when looking at this. Still, there's a higher proportion of households without access to some of these basic services, especially in the rural areas. A number of houses lack access to safe drinking water, waste disposal facilities, and so forth. By county, we note that there are large disparities in access to the basic services. For example, access to improved sanitation exceeds 90%, for example, in Kisumu and Nairobi, which is about 15 times higher than in Wajir, which is where access is about 6%. So there are very large disparities in terms of access to basic services. In terms of gender, just consolidating this, because we have done it in various sections, so we are trying to consolidate this in a section, so that if you are interested in gender inequality, you can come to that section and look at what is happening here. Here we note that women and youth face higher unemployment rates than men. Also, women receive much lower earnings than men over the period. And we note that there is higher inequality in access to college and university education, with women being severely disadvantaged here. Also, male-headed households had higher access to safe drinking water, piped water, and improved sanitation than female-headed households. And one area that we noted here, we looked at women representation in legislative bodies, and here we note that representation of women in various legislative bodies is still low. That was in 2016, it was at about 10%, which we note as being low. So in conclusion, we know that multidimensional inequality decreased over the study period, but it remains high across regions and social groups, with some regions, especially counties in rural and arid and semi-arid areas, being severely disadvantaged. We also note that gender inequality gaps narrowed, but remain high in rural population, in higher education, and in civic engagements. So our recommendations are as follows: that reducing inequality in labor market earnings and in asset ownership through physical action could go a long way in reducing the overall inequality and poverty. And here, as part of this, we have the companion study that we have done, and which will be disseminated in a few coming days, which is the impact of fiscal action on poverty and inequality. So in that study that we will present, we look at how government fiscal action, that is taxation and expenditure actions, have impacted on inequality and poverty. So when it comes to that, again, we will invite you to when we will be disseminating this report. But it's a very rich report, which we will be disseminating in a few days to come. Another recommendation is to increase access to safe drinking water, sanitation, electricity, and internet, especially in the rural areas. And then we recommend the elimination of all forms of gender inequality in tertiary education, rural areas, and civic engagement, and in other spheres of the economy. As the DG has already mentioned, we also recommend here that we may, for there to be an increase in the frequency of household budget surveys, so that we can have data probably in a 5-year cycle, or if possible, we can launch panel data surveys to enhance such studies and to enhance also issues of monitoring and evaluation. Then we also need to improve on the data set collected. For example, try to collect data on the nature and quality of the services accessed, especially by the poor, because we note that in some of the parts, the poor access the services, but we don't know much more about the quality of these services. So if data can provide this information, then we would be able to say, okay, the poor are accessing these services and the services are of quality. So this is our recommendations, and I would like to take this chance to thank the research team and the collaboration between University of Nairobi and Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics and our partners in ASEA for making comments on this report, which helped in enhancing the quality of the report. So thank you so much. That is my presentation of the report. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Professor Damiano. Yeah, very good insight, especially in terms of evidence. And the more question that we asking, of course, from the report, is like the case of Turkana. Here I said that Turkana have noted an increase in inequality. I think those are researchable issues. So, of course, I know there are so many other researchable issues, but that's a key area that maybe one might also want to reflect on. Yeah, so thank you so much for that highly summarized work and the presentation. Yeah, so I think from here now, what I want to do is to vacate the chair for McDonald, so that he can push on the remaining part of this round. So over to you, McDonald. Thank you.
So, thank you so much, Dr. Moses Mureithi, for guiding the process. It has really gone well under your guidance, and we have gotten very rich remarks and a presentation of the key findings from the report. And thank you so much, Professor Damiano, for the good presentation that you made. It is really enlightening, and at the same time, it brings out issues from a report that is actually technical, but you explained the points very well, meaning that the users, the public, should be able then to really understand what the report is all about. So I thank you all for all that you have gone through so far. And I would then, at this juncture, get back to this other side of the program where we were actually meant to have the Principal Secretary, State Department for Planning, Mr. Saitoti Torome, who was also to give remarks before inviting the chief guest. Unfortunately, he's caught up in some other delicate issues that also required his attention, so he gave his apologies, and so he's not with us here. Then at this point, I would take the opportunity really to get the keynote address that is meant to be given by none other than our Chief Administrative Secretary in the National Treasury and the Planning. It's coming from Honorable Eric Simiwa Fuko, who will really take us through the main speech. Is our chief guest. And so, sir, I would like to welcome you to take the stage so that you share with us your keynote address, which then will culminate into the launch of the report. So, sir, the chance is yours, and welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Is it good morning? The Principal Secretary, State Department of Planning in the Ministry of the National Treasury and Planning, George Saitoti Torome, who is not with us here today, but we receive his apologies. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, Professor Stephen Gitai Kiama, is not here today, but represented by Professor Margaret Chesang. The Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics board members who are present, including Catherine Mwoki, that is here, following online. The Director General of the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, Mr. MacDonald Obodho, we want to appreciate you for hosting us. The French Development Agency representative, Dr. David Anda, we will acknowledge you here today. The University of Cape Town representative, Professor Morel Lidbrand, South Africa Research Node of African Center of Inequality, Research Center representatives. We want to acknowledge here you today. Representatives from the European Union, Robert Buckland, representatives from the development partners, the senior government officials, and senior distinguished guests, and all protocols that are observed today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to be here today, this morning, and to officiate the launch of Inequality Trends and Diagnostics in Kenya 2020 report. And this report is important to the government as it provides requisite information for evidence-based decision-making. Using data to inform policy is a universally recognized paradigm for efficient management of countries. This is evidenced through monitoring and evaluation of activities, projects, and programs which affect our daily lives. In this regard, provision of timely, accurate, and consistent statistical facts places us in a position to plan the future and hence manage our affairs more efficiently. Today's citizenry increasingly demands high-quality statistics that are comprehensive, reliable, accurate, and timely to benchmark and track the implementation of various national development initiatives. And Kenyans are not an exception to this. I wish, therefore, to appreciate the role played by the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics and the University of Nairobi in providing useful requisite inequality data for planning, for monitoring and evaluation, policy and program formulation. As principal agency of government on statistical matters, the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics is expected to continuously provide the necessary information as input for monitoring and evaluation of the various development agenda, such as the Kenya Vision 2030. The Big Four agenda, that is the medium-term plan within the Vision 2030, and sustainable development goals. Such information is contained in various Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics statistical releases, an example being the 2020 Inequality Trends and Diagnostics in Kenya report that we are now launching this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, statistical data has been ranked highly on the list of priorities of the government as outlined in the various policy documents. This is in appreciating the need for better statistics, not only as a tool for evidence-based policy design and planning, but also as to also help us to better support policy implementation, to monitor progress and evaluate outcomes and impacts of development initiatives, such as the SDGs. Okay? The report provides useful information for monitoring SDG number 10, which aims to reduce inequality within and among countries. The government has over the years put in place policies and reforms to reduce inequality. Some of the main policies implemented include a quest for economic growth to reduce poverty and inequality, fiscal policy actions such as taxation and social expenditure, cash transfers to vulnerable groups, developed government functions and services, special funds for youth and women, and the 1/3 gender rule for employment, among others. The government has also implemented many pro-poor and pro-equity reforms, especially in the education and health sectors, with the introduction of free primary education and the universal health care programs, among other programs. Ladies and gentlemen, inequality is associated with low economic growth rates that may trigger social and governance problems. It is for these reasons that the government embarked on inequality reduction programs to improve the welfare of the citizenry. The findings from this report are in tandem with government efforts of reducing inequalities. As outlined in the report at the national level, the Gini coefficient increased slightly from 0.460 in 1994 to 0.470 in 2005-2006, before declining to 0.404 in 2015 and 2016. At the county level, there is wide variation in inequality. For example, in 2015-2016, Gini coefficient ranged from 0.272 in Nairobi City County to 0.559 in Turkana County. Theoretically, there is a higher inequality in population as Gini coefficient tends towards 1, and more equal as it tends towards 0. To continue providing better information for monitoring and evaluation, and for evidence-based decision-making, there is need to provide financial support to Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics and other research institutions. Furthermore, there is need to provide support towards increasing a periodicity of household budget surveys. It is for this reason that we request development partners to continue providing financial support for the realization of the outcomes. In addition, we request for support on technical capacity in new areas of research, especially in data science. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to appreciate the effort made by the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, staff and the players involved to make this dream come true. I therefore congratulate the University of Nairobi, together with the African Center for Excellence for Inequality Research, for offering technical support to facilitate development of this report. My sincere appreciation goes to the development partners, the Agence Française de Développement and the European Union, for providing both technical that led to the realization of this report and strengthening of institutional capacity. And last but not least, I also acknowledge the steering committee members and all the enterprises and individuals who, in one way or the other, assisted in making this report a reality. It is now my humble duty and honor to officially launch the Inequality Trends and Diagnostics in Kenya 2020 report. And I thank you all, and God bless you all as you go. Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. So we stand. We stand. We'll stand first. Oh, the screen can't see us. Yes. But if we do this, oh, they're blocked. They have raised. Go some more. Yeah. Yeah. Not your turn. Zoom. But if you zoom out, will not be appear the three of them. We need to see you.
We can zoom out fast. Then
Okay. Again. Okay.
Then you.
I mean.
We go to
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. You can zoom with him alone.
Him alone.
He's zooming. Yeah. Him alone.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Go. You want the paper to read it? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's can happen.
Let's go.
Down.
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 Location you can.
Down. No. The other way.
Or do I need to sit?
Yeah.
We can do it with the KNBS. There's somebody at the door. Excuse. Thank you, sir. Yes, thank you. Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like this.
Sorry, Paul. Paul, we are not seeing. Paul, we are not seeing. Is there a problem?
Yeah. Oh, I think we can get the screen. The screen just on.
Yeah.
The screen has just gone off,
Okay.
but we are back to it. Are you able to see something?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yes, please.
Oh, that is quite
Are
unfortunate.
you, Professor Kulundu, are you seeing anything? Professor Kulundu, from wherever you are.
You're good.
No?
Are you? Okay.
Okay.
You're able to get something?
Yes.
It's almost coming.
Oh,
Okay, yes.
Prof, you are still not able to see?
Oh, we can see.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
see
We can
now.
now see, yeah.
Now we can see.
So I think now why it went off? The official launch took place, and we are able to display the product that is being launched, and maybe at this moment you are able to see something. We did it while Sunday, but I hope you are able to see something. At least we can confirm that the report is here, printed and nicely done. The inside of it is actually having quality paper, and actually it is interesting to go through this report. That can be confirmed from where we are seated here. Good. So I think, colleagues, we are at the point of really getting to questions and answers. But before I do that, let me take the opportunity to thank the chief guest, who has done a very good job to take us through this process and finally launch the report. It is now going to be out in the public for use. I know what Professor Damiano gave was the gist of what is contained in the report, but you'll be able to get the details within it as he had promised. So I would then just go back to the program and deal with the element of the questions and answers. If there are any questions that are arising from the presentations that have been made, kindly, the space is yours. We can have a few questions, which the whole team that is here will be able respond to. So if there is, we would mind getting the comments, questions, that could also have the compliments and otherwise also anyway, which is also allowed. So the space is yours. Anybody with any question? The chat is also there to use. You can type what you have in mind. Yeah, so I think let's see the chat, what the chat has. Oh, so from the chat you are able to see, there was a feeling that it was not live, now it is live. There is also a wonderful comment saying that wonderful achievement and moment. What an excellent policy stroke research partnership. Congratulations to all. Thank you, Professor Simon Onyure has also given his word of congratulations, saying that congratulations to this. Many of us will need it for baseline information. Prof, for sure you'll be able to get copies both in hard and soft. So that's the far we have gone. So may I it has really gone well, and thank you so much for this. So at this point, I could just go to the last bit of the program, which is having the vote of thanks. And the vote of thanks will be given by none other than Professor Anthony Wambugu. Professor Wambugu. There's a media question. Oh, there's a media question. Okay. Sorry, Prof. I'm told there is a media question here. Yes, what is the question?
Yes, good morning again, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
My name is Wapungu from this report has highlighted some issues that have been highlighted before. When we talk about issues of gender inequalities, issues of counties, disparities, inability to be able to, access education in some counties and other counties, that people can be able to access even water and basic necessities, while others can't. These are issues that have been addressed before. So my concern perhaps could be that could we have maybe a direct answer from the CAS on maybe what then does the government intend to do to really address these issues, maybe to assure those people in far-flung counties, like for example Marsabit, that these are issues that are being addressed, and this is maybe how you're going to go about it, so that it won't be something that we'll discuss again, that there's a challenge in accessing water, education in this area. Thank you.
So do you have any other question other than that one? Thank you so much. Yeah, okay, great. But as the chief guest is coming up to respond, maybe I could say a word or two. Statistics is really meant to give us the insight of what is happening. And one thing for sure is that when you look at the data that we have used, it is over a long period of time. And we have used it to monitor the changes that have been occurring over time using the many studies that have been undertaken. So out of that, we are now seeing what it reveals that, okay, to what extent have those changes occurred? When we talk of inequality in education, even the provision of water and sanitation improvement. Now, where are we from 1994 to 2016? So we have been able to see from the report that really there have been some improvement. Not some, a lot of improvement. It's only that we have not reached where we need to be. So that has been revealed. So it's a question of now, in which areas then do we need to tweak something? What kind of policies do we need to tweak so that we are able to really have our interventions more effective than maybe what they have been before. And that is now the key thing that we are focusing on. But that is just, I was just trying to share with you that much as they have been highlighted before, we have been doing so using different reports. But now, are we able to see some chronology over a long period of time and the changes that have been occurring against the interventions that have been there? That's what we have done basically so far. But I'll take it back to the chief guest to say a word or two. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question that you have asked. If you had listened to, if you go back to what I had said earlier, you will see that I had said that the government over the years has put together and put in place policies and reforms to reduce inequality. And some of the main policies implemented include a quest for economic growth to reduce poverty and inequality, the fiscal policy actions such as taxation, some of the reliefs that are made, the way the tax regime is structured, social expenditure, cash transfers. And if you look at even the budget that we do have now, we have increased the cash transfers to go out to the most vulnerable, to the vulnerable groups, developed government functions and services that are moving closer to our people, and special funds for youth and for women, and the 1/3 gender rule for employment, among others, because the inequalities that are being looked at have also been looked at through the lens of gender. I think I classified the inequalities in 4 categories that the report that brought out today. And as the DG has said, that the findings are helping us to know where the policy gaps are, if we have policy gaps. They're helping us to also appreciate the progress that we've made. If you look at the Gini coefficients, and that development is not an activity. Development is a journey. And the mere existence of disparities does not call for despair, but it simply invites us to continue that journey until we have created a story in which Kenyans live with the dignity in the vision of 2030, that we are moving Kenyans to a middle income economy in which people live lives of dignity. So it's a good journey that we are making, and what this now provides for government, the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, as the main agent for data generation for government, it now moves to the next stage. And what you also had here said, that there are recommendations. The next report that is coming out now has some of the recommendations in some of these areas that will help us to see, on top of what we are already doing or we have done, what more can we do? And now again, a team has brought out those particular ideas to strengthen further. So it's going to be a pain point in the sense that until we can all bring our energy together and begin to focus on the issues that affect the people. If you go into the progress that we have made in the infrastructure in the recent past, there were many counties in this country that had never seen tarmac. But now if you go in there, you can see progress that people actually have tarmac and the infrastructure development is moving on. If you go and you find out the level 3 hospitals and the clinics that were there, in terms of facility development for the health systems delivery, you'll discover the progress that we have made. If you look at some of our people that used to go to India for treatments because of sophisticated equipment there and what the government has done to bring the equipment into the country. If you look at formerly when we had traditional birth attendants, and now you see the skilled birth attendants that are coming, I think you begin to appreciate the fact that our government is investing in this space. If you look at our artisans, and you look at the Jua Kali sector that is made up of more than 16 million people, we had a situation where we had no recognition of prior learning. What that means is that our people who are able to make very good furniture in the Jua Kali sector, for example, were unable to win tenders to supply in big stores because they were considered unskilled and they did not have purpose. And government, through the Ministry of Education, is rolling out the recognition of prior learning. Well, that means that they will be examined and they will be given equivalent certification that allows them to bid for some of the international jobs. Countries like Tanzania have done it, and so we will not have middle people coming in between and shortchanging our people. And there are this and many more than time allows initiatives that say it's a pain point. We'll continue to focus on it with all our interventions. If you look at FDI, and you look at some of the disbursements that are coming back into the country, and you look at how we have invested in nursing and how our nurses are most sought after in many other parts of the world, you begin to see a connection between education and economy. And so it is not to dilute the import of the report, but just to say that now that it has come out, we as government will need to look at it, look at policy propositions that are being made, administrative actions that need to be taken, and budgeting issues in terms of priority spending, so that we align our budgeting process with our development priorities. And this will be a very good resource as we go back to the drawing board as government, with the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics as now our research, our think tank in that particular space. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa.
Yeah.
And then you allow me, I would then request Professor Anthony Wambugu, who is the Director, School of Economics, University of Nairobi, to give a vote of thanks. So, Prof, kindly welcome and take the space.
Thank you very much, Director General. The chief guest, Honorable Eric Simiyu Wafuho, Chief Administrative Secretary, the National Treasury and Planning, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, represented by Professor Margaret Hutchinson, DVC, Finance, Planning and Development, the Director General of Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, McDonald George Obudo, MBS, the delegates from our partners, AFD and the European Union, Dr. Ada David and Mr. Robert Becklud, the Director of the Arua ASEA, Professor Muri Raybrad, invited guests, students, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my humble duty to move the vote of thanks. And I begin by thanking the chief guest, Honorable Eric Simiyu, the Chief Administrative Secretary, National Treasury and Planning, for launching the report on Inequality Trends and Diagnostics in Kenya. Sir, we also thank you for your remarks on this very important subject. I would also like to thank the Principal Secretary for the State Department of Planning, Mr. Saitoti Torome, who is not with us but was willing to join us. We thank the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi for supporting this project right from its inception. We recall that he signed the instruments for this project immediately he came into office. And the conducive environment that we enjoy at the University of Nairobi has enabled the research team to reach this important milestone. So we thank you, Vice Chancellor, for your remarks and presence at this event represented by the DVC. The Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics has supported the work that has culminated in the report launched today. And therefore, we thank the Director General for your remarks today and for your steadfast support throughout our work. The funding and the technical support from AFD and the European Union enabled the Kenyan node of ASEA to initiate and complete this project. Therefore, we are most grateful for this landmark support. We thank Dr. Geoffrey Mwao, formerly of the National Treasury and now at the Office of the President, for his steadfast support to the research team as well. We are greatly indebted to the ASEA Hub for technical support and coordination. Thank you, Professor Muri Reibrad, for your presence and remarks at this event. Please pass our thanks to the staff of the ASEA Hub as well. To our guests from public and private institutions who have joined us at this event, thank you. We appreciate your presence. To the members of the Project Steering Committee, we say a big thank you to each one of you. We have been fortunate to have had a dedicated public relations team from the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics and from the University of Nairobi. Please accept our heartfelt thanks. I also thank all other persons who had a hand in the preparations for this event. Thank you for your dedication. The moderators of the event have guided the agenda efficiently. We thank you and appreciate you. Many thanks to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics IC team for setting up the virtual meeting to launch the report. We are most grateful. We express our sincere thanks to the media for excellent coverage of this event. And last but not least, I would like to thank the research team from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics and from the University of Nairobi for cordial, effective, and efficient collaboration. Once again, thank you, esteemed guests, for being with us this morning. I now hand over back to the DG for final statement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof, for the good vote of thanks. We also thank you too for the work well done, and we appreciate your role and the support that you've been giving this program all along. I hope as a team we'll be able to move to the next level. As has been said, we are soon going to have the next publication, which will be responding to some of the findings from this report released. And so be on the watch out. We'll be able to come back to you all for the next report. And as we have said, we are also still getting deep into the further analysis, which will keep on improving the information that we have generated so far. I believe that data mining is so we come to the end of this program as per the program. So thank everybody as you get into other activities. We are also sharing the report. You've seen the link that has been given there. We are also going to have them on our website. We'll be able to share the hard copies that are available. But I think it is easier actually to work from the soft copies. Now, may God bless all of us in this in whatever we do beyond here, and we hope to meet again and have this kind of a discussion very, very soon. Thank you so much, and the meeting has officially come to an end.
Excellent. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so